song, community singing, it's Green Grow the Rashes O, I think it's in your little number 10.
There's no but care on every hand, and every ear that passes o'er, sing the boys the wife the man, and where the father lasses o'er. Green grow the rashes o'er, green grow the rashes o'er, the sweetest earth that ever spent among the lasses o'er. The worldly race the riches chase, and riches still may thank them all. And though at last they crash their past, the hearts can never enjoy them all. Green grow the rashes oh, green grow the rashes oh, the sweetest herbs that ever spent are spent among the lasses oh. Oh, you seducely sneer at this, you're not but senseless asses, oh. The wisest man the world has saw, you dearly love the lasses, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh. The sweetest herbs that ever spent among the lasses, oh. Old nature swears the lovely years, and in the measure she flashes, oh, apprenticed hand she tried a man, and then she made the lasses, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh, the sweetest herbs that ever spent among the lasses, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh, the sweetest herbs that ever are spent among the lasses, oh.
Well done, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker may appear to be quite familiar to some of you in the audience this evening, as he was a lawyer for many years, specialising in divorce proceedings. Gordon was born in County Durham and qualified as a solicitor there. After a while he moved to the Wirral on Merseyside and practised there until he got fed up and retired. Not knowing what move to make next, he stuck a pin in a map and ended up in Kirkcudbright, where he lives with his long-suffering wife Hilary, to whom he's been married for 40 odd years. They now run an excellent guest house, Gladstone House, near the Toll Booth in the High Street. Gladstone House being a typical Georgian council house. He has two sons, neither of whom took up the profession, and is a doting grandfather. He also claims to be the only Sunderland supporter in Kirkcudbright. A proud boast. With a toast to the town and trades, Mr. Gordon Count.
Madam promised. Wine waiter, I think it's just a runner. Honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, and those of you who are here tonight in response to the advert in the big issue. By way of preamble, can I just sort out a couple of things? I don't know whether the people at the back of the room can hear me. No. But if not, give it a few minutes, there'll be plenty of people around here who will swap places with you. And I suppose while I'm at it, I should thank the person who stopped me escaping through the open gents toilet window there. Get some busybody, don't you? Can I, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of all your guests, thank you for your very warm invitation and reception this evening. In my case, it was particularly touching because the letter of requesting that I should come along this evening was the essence of good taste. It read, due to the recent flu epidemic, we are denied our usual and more obvious choice of speakers. But the almost unanimous decision of the association was to invite you to come along and speak tonight. This invitation, of course, is subject to our taking up satisfactory references. Can I personally pay tribute to you, Ian, for your personal attention? You know, it's the small detail that really count. I mean, Ian said, look, if there's any difficulty over transport, let me know. And true to his word, within 24 hours, the first-out copy of the Kikubi bus timetable was stuck in 1975. Ian also gave me some guidance and said, look, don't speak for any more than 10 minutes because otherwise you'll lose them. Don't use big words. And if you think about it, the highlight of the evening are the recitations and the immortal memory. Everything else tends to fall into insignificance. How damn right it was. And finally, don't allow more than 5 minutes for a standing ovation. I'd like to share something with all of you, and that's this, that this week has been a very emotive week for myself, because on Monday of this week, we celebrated my father's 98th birthday. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us because he died 30 years ago. I don't think that's a laughing matter. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight, well, standards doing it, but I'm here tonight confident in the thought in 500-year history of this august association, never have you had anybody less qualified to talk than on this in a vain attempt to claw back some credibility, I thought I might mention the fact that my mother's maiden name was Armstrong, but I rather gathered in certain quarters that wouldn't cut my Chinese. I thought I might be on safer ground by mentioning the fact that my wife's maiden name was Cochrane, and 3 generations of her family have made ship's boilers down at Annan. So it's always been a proud boast to tell people that my wife comes from a long line of boilers. You know, in wondering what to talk about for the very short time allotted to me, I was kept on flooding back with my previous life as a lawyer, the courtroom dramas, the irritable judges, the disastrous cross-examinations, the days before faxes of texts, emails, the correspondence and the spelling mistakes. And I'd like to share, if I may, very quickly, 1 or 2 such experiences. I remember, for instance, a case at St George's Hall, Liverpool, which was a favourite stomping ground for me, involving a personal accident claim. The plaintiff, that is the person making the claim, was an Irishman. That's not relevant at all, believe me. The examination went as follows. Mr. O'Flaherty, will you show the judge, or demonstrate to the judge, how far you can now raise your arm as a result of this appalling, disastrous accident? Thank you, Mr. O'Flaherty. Now, would you show the judge how far you can lift it before the accident?